Welcome to Left Back in the Changing Room.
Hey!
Hello listeners, we're back. It's Gameweek 14.
Gameweek 14!
14. We are all here around the table today, really excited to bring to you another episode. It's been a blinding week as well, hasn't it, gents? So I'll just give you a quick roll call. Got the main man, Ricky Pellegrini.
Oi, oi!
He's still there, he's hanging on by a thread, Pellers is. He thinks he's going to get fired, but he's still there after a 3-2 defeat by Spurs. And then we've got Patrick Vieira.
Hello.
Vieira!
Just here for the beers.
It's blinding reason. And then the man from Liverpool. Watch out for your hubcaps. It's NVD.
Top of the league.
What's that? Coming over the ship.
What's that coming?
Doesn't make sense.
It's Captain. He's come round the iceberg. He's in.
Don't crash.
Say hello, Captain.
Evening.
Spoken like a true deckhand. How are you, buddy?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks, mate. It's been a brilliant weekend on and off the pitch. Off the pitch, what a blinder, eh, lads? A bit of a joint birthday. Just so happened it was NVD, Ricky Pellegrini, and myself's birthday this weekend, and I tell you what, didn't we live it up, eh? Patrick Vieira, take us through it.
Oh, well, it was great. We had a nice little bit of brunch, and then we shook hands and went home.
NVD, what really happened?
Well, I'll try and keep it above board for our listeners, but, a little bit of footy because we have to keep ourselves connected to all things related to the podcast, but over onto a bit of bowling, and you know what, it just got better and better from there, to be honest. We encountered our esteemed host was
Jimmy!
was privileged enough to meet his good friend, a local celebrity. You may not have heard of him, listeners. Goes by the name of the legend Mr. Robert De Niro. They were busy exchanging ideas and thoughts over art or something like that, wasn't it, Mr. Jimmy Ferry?
It was, mate. Yeah, Robert was out. He was playing bowling.
Bob.
Yeah, and I happened to head over to the pisser, and en route I saw him looking at some art on the wall, and I commented on the art, and then looked at him and realised it was Robert De Niro. And anyway, ended up getting a photo. Told my mate Pellers, and he linked it out after him.
Like the old paparazzi.
He heard I was a West Ham fan, so he was trying to get out there as soon as he could. Got a nice couple of snaps. What a lovely bloke. Bob.
Gentlemen, if you're listening, Robert De Niro, or Robert, as we know, yeah. Of course, yep, sorry.
You did actually tell him about the potty as well, didn't you?
I did. I'm very hopeful that he is listening. It was a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Fantastic.
I didn't put your photo on Instagram straight away, as requested.
Don't let Bob down.
Yeah, gave it 5 minutes. But then I think what a wonderful night off the field. And then we had the Berlin Wall gate, didn't we, Mr. Pellegrini? Take us through that.
We finished the bowling, right? We obviously all the huff and commotion was going on about Bob over on the private lane, and then we noticed this little wobbly wall just by the darts board. I'd mentioned it to Vieira early on, and then about 10 minutes later we look over, hear a big bang.
They sent me in.
And
sent me in to push it over, listeners.
And Jimmy Ferguson almost was killed.
It's
almost
true.
wiped out our esteemed host. We were very thankful that he wasn't.
The wall fell down on my leg, listeners. It was the Lucky Strike bar on 12th and 54th. If you want free drinks.
40 seconds.
Close, 40 second. Free drinks, you get down there, you push the wall over, and then you go up and tell them you lost all your alcohol. Blinding ideas. That is more advice than you tuned in for. Anyhow.
Fantastic night.
I digress. Let's get onto the pitch. Neil Van Dijk did started Saturday with a FPL team trip down to the local bar. It was actually the first game we'd all been in the same room for this season, which is shocking. And we saw the Manchester City Chelsea match, 12:30 here. Great game. Great game. We'll jump into that shortly, but I think from a fantasy Premier League perspective, everyone is undoubtedly desperate to hear how we got on this weekend in the NYC Brit Street Boys League. I'm glad to say every single one of us, with the exception of Sausage Burner, did go above the 49-point average. So Sean the John McGinn fanboy who we're still calling that because
John McGinn
no one
fanboy.
voted on our poll. He's in first still, he got 70 points. Captain Russ, you had a decent one, 69 points in second. The only piece of movement we've seen this week is in third slot there, climbing the heights.
Jimmy.
Yours truly, I've gone up, I've hit a 65, I'm 720 overall, 44 behind Sean, the John McGinn fanboy, is on 764, and then Ricky Pellegrini, I've dislodged you, mate, you're down into fourth.
Down into fourth, Champions League spot, but just slowly but surely dropping down the league, and then I'm just ahead of NVD himself, just by 3 points.
There you
By
go.
the 3, yeah, NVD.
He's chasing me, I'm
66
points from
I'm
NVD.
looking for that, that Arsenal fourth place spot that they so used to get. I'm coming for you.
He is NVD in fifth. He's got the 705, 3 behind Ricky, and then we've got the man from the Capitals, the Caps, Mr. Patrick Vieira. He likes the cap locks. He's scaring us.
Loves the cap.
Patrick
loves the cap
Flatrick.
lock.
Look how well it's done. I moved up a spot.
He's gone up. He has gone up.
So
52 points, respectable.
If I carry on like this, in 6 weeks I should be top of the table.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely.
We can all live in hope and dreams. Then we've got the sausage burner in 8, and then Mr. Matty Lawless is propping up the table. He's in 9th, which is last position.
Battling out down the bottom there.
And I feel like we need to get Matty back on the podcast. It's quarter of the way in. I want to hear from him. I want to hear what's going wrong.
He will be on soon.
Next week.
Tuning in.
So, all of that said, how we've done, I think we've all done okay. No one surpassed heights or scaled as high as the top score this week in fantasy, which was 124. Sean was the closest with 70, so still top. I think, before we jump into the teams to work out what's going wrong with Ricky Pellegrini here, he keeps slipping, I wanted to touch on Tottenham Hotspur, really. It's the only place to start. Captain, your beloved Spurs, you've parted ways with the manager and you've brought in a new boy.
Yeah, what do you think about Mourinho then, Captain? What was your first thoughts? Because it happened pretty quickly with old Poch leaving, and then the next day Mourinho signed up.
Yeah, well, there might be children listening on this, so I'd rather not say what I said exactly to you when I heard that Mourinho was taking charge. But yeah, it was like, at first, I wasn't too pleased.
Oh, really?
Well, I thought it was a bit sudden. I thought, Poch leaving.
Yeah, it's
well,
true.
not leaving, getting sacked, should we say, was a bit of a shocker. I mean,
Yeah.
there's plenty of other mid-table teams are expected to do better, and it's Mourinho, do you know what I mean? Like, ex-Chelsea manager.
Yeah,
so,
you felt cheated on.
I think everyone's back up, but at the same time, we've been doing terribly this season. We've not got many results. Like, no one's playing to their best ability. As I said before, I think I mentioned before, there's something wrong behind closed doors. There's a few rumours scattered around, but
So something needs to change, right, Captain? Something needs to change at the Spurs camp.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it was a pretty impressive game this last week. I think we.
It was, wasn't it? It was Spurs versus Ricky Pellegrini's beloved Hammers.
Hell the Hammer.
3-0 destroyed them.
Which is always good. I mean, to be honest, they've both been not their best for a while, both teams. So, I did kind of expect to win, but at the same time, good to see Dele Alli out there.
Yeah, played well, Dele Alli.
He's looking very good.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, definitely. And there was just a bit more life. I think we all noticed that Harry Kane seemed to go up a gear as well.
Yeah, he perked up, didn't he?
One thing I absolutely loved about Harry Kane, and I might get a lot of hate mail for this. Beavis, he was. Anyway, he's standing on the edge of the wall, and the commentators someone whacked the ball, and his Beavis head got right in the way, smacked it right on his nose. It was so funny, mate, and he was down, wasn't he? And the commentator was like, "That's really not funny." I was like, Beavis just got smacked in the head.
It was quite funny.
It was brilliant.
Gets in the way everywhere, doesn't it?
I got to say though,
He's got a big head, hasn't he?
Yeah, you can't kick a ball without hitting his head on the football pitch.
I think he's very happy that Mourinho's in, and a lot of Spurs fans were. I saw a lot of people moaning about it on social media, and I think realistically they're probably the same as you, Captain. It is a bit of a shock when it all happened so quickly, but when you think about it, I think it's a really great appointment from Tottenham Hotspur. I do think it shows they mean business, they want to win stuff. I think Jose Mourinho's coming into a club that's got a better team than when he came to Manchester United by far, and I think he's going to be licking his lips at what he can do. Like you say, Dele Alli, I saw an interview with him, he was saying Dele's too good. good to not be in my team, and he's too good to be where he's been for the last year, and he hasn't been good enough for the last year. So hopefully he can turn the fortunes around. And talking of that, Son did well, didn't he, this week? He's come into the dream team for Fantasy Premier League, 2 goals.
Got an assist, assist and a goal.
Well.
Oh,
Yeah,
1 goal, sorry.
Does anyone actually own Son out of all of us?
I wish I
think
did.
no one
I wish I
does.
did. He's like 9.6. Wish I had the funds to get him in because with this upturn, with any new manager, you do seem to go through this honeymoon period. We all remember, obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That's the first thing that was coming to my mind. You go through a good honeymoon period where you usually get a good, solid result. So it's obviously bad news for the Hammers anyway on their downward turn. Yeah, Son, I think is a great shout. Just as early doors in this podcast,
He
I
was
think.
my shout out last week. I'll let you know.
He was actually,
Yeah.
yes, Patrick Vieira. So that was absolutely.
I didn't
But
say
you
it.
didn't get him.
I didn't take my own advice and buy him, no. But,
Got in the dream team. But what was it? 13 points there, Jimmy Ferguson. Got
Yeah,
in there.
13 points. Welcome to the
solid.
podcast where we don't take our own advice, but we're good at giving it. He is pricey.
He got bonus points as well. He
But
got
I
the full
think,
bonus points.
guys, that's a very good question good question though to sit on. Is now that Mourinho is in, should we be piling on Spurs players? I mean, their next game's home against Bournemouth. That's a winnable game. Bournemouth are not looking too strong. Spurs have also won 4-2 today in the Champions League, 2 from Kane. Then they've got Man U. Then they're at home to Burnley. So in the next 3 are very winnable games.
quite
It
tasty.
depends
Yeah,
it depends
they
who you're
got
going to get in
definitely.
though. To be honest, I think attacking players wise, I think maybe if Son is too expensive, you might want to actually start taking a punt on Dele Alli, right? Like Captain said, that uptake of form. Still though, the defence seems a little bit shaky, right? They were 3-0 up.
Sure.
Yeah.
They kind of let in 2 goals. Champions League win today, which was great for them. They qualified for the last 16, but albeit they still conceded 2 goals. So that's still an area of concern. Albeit, Mourinho being an expert at parking the bus, he'll sort that out for them.
I mean, they were 3-0 up and they let in. I mean, Antonio's goal for West Ham was very good.
I think
Yeah, I mean,
think
we've
both
not
goals
got,
to
we've
be
not
fair.
got our first choice keeper either as well,
Yeah.
So if you were looking at Spurs, any value in Lucas Moura for anybody? Do we think he's going to get a run in the team?
I think Lucas Moura is a bit hot and cold. He's he's obviously a good player, right? He's played in top teams. I just don't think he's consistent. You saw the sitter that he absolutely missed as well. He should have put Tottenham 3-0 up before they did then eventually come 3-0 up. And it was a bad miss. And that kind of sums him up. He can have an absolute blinder, score a hat-trick, maybe once or twice a season, but I just don't think he's consistent.
Yeah.
he's a really good super sub. He's good at keep him on the bench for a bit and then bring him on when we
got
need
pace,
him.
right?
And he's proven that time and time again.
I think the funny thing is when I look at Tottenham is they don't actually have a second striker though. They've got Harry Kane and then it's midfielders. It's Son, it's Lucas Moura, it's Ali. Ericsson, he put him on the bench. I wonder if that's a sign of things to come, and does he prefer Moura over Ericsson? They're the things we'll have to work out. But I think in the meantime, if you do want to get Spurs players in, Son and Harry Kane are clearly the 2 that I'd be. Okay, we'll leave it there then. So the only person in our Fantasy Premier League that has got a Tottenham player is our leader. When I say leader, he's first. He's not our leader.
Is that cult leader?
Sean's a John McGinn fanboy. Never did anyone follow a Scotsman. But he has got Aurier.
Oh, he's got Aurier.
Yeah.
He's got Aurier.
So he got 6 points for Aurier, which was a great addition. It did look at one point like they were getting a clean sheet, and Aurier was up for 12. I mean, with the 3 bonus points.
Aguero's injured.
But what I would say about Sean the John McGinn fanboys team is he made a bit of a brash decision because he did have Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold at the back, and we've spoken about the 2 Liverpool players at
Doubling
the back,
up,
thinking that's a good strategy. I do personally think that's a good strategy. Being in first spot, I think he's felt the heat and he's actually made a rash decision and he's sold Trent Alexander-Arnold and he's brought in Milivojevic and Janmat.
Wow.
What do we think of that?
Milivojevic is a bit of a funny one, but he does. Last year he did rank up the points because he took penalties, right? And he took free kicks and stuff like that. So I did overhear him say, thinking about going true to his name, getting Sean John McGinn fanboy back in.
He's getting John McGinn back in.
As we see Aguero with his injury, I think that's a definite.
Point,
He's going to be out. Groin is obviously a long-term injury. It's going to be interesting who he gets in for Aguero. Maybe Abraham, maybe Jimenez. Frees up a lot of money, yeah.
Yeah, so Aguero is out.
I don't think it's a particularly bad decision actually that he's made.
He's 11.9, but he's unknown when he's coming back from injury. So for everyone out there, he could well be out for, I think it was 10 weeks. I saw was the last thing.
It's going to be a lengthy injury. So
any value in Jesus?
Going to be the main
Jesus,
target man now. So yeah.
I also would say I thought Rashford played very well for about 20 minutes against Sheffield United.
He's creeping up the
getting the
table.
points.
I don't know if you noticed in the table for the overall players, Rashford has kind of sneaked up upon us, and he's now